Hey friends, welcome back to At the Table. We are still with Tom and Ray here today, but we still have a different story this Sunday looking at Simon carrying Jesus' cross and the unlikely companionship that Jesus received even from Simon, and us reflecting on where we find that in our own lives of faith, where we bear one another's burdens. And we're going to get more into that this Sunday. Please join us for worship at 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. to dive into that text and that story and that idea of unlikely companionship. But we were having such a good conversation with Tom that we didn't want to leave it. So please continue to watch At the Table. Thanks for joining us, and continue to hear this story from Tom.
And then as Jesus is sentenced, as we're walking through Lent here, he's sentenced, and part of the sentence is he's beaten. And it's anybody who's seen the Passion of the Christ, it is a very horrible scene.
It's terrible.
Many people actually died from the lashings themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe some of you theologian types help me. I think they could receive 39 lashes legally by the Jewish legal system. They could receive 39 lashes. And he received that, and you would lose a tremendous amount of blood because this is kind of morbid and gross. The whip they were whipped with had lead or metal barbs on the end of the whip. The whole point of them was to rip the skin. And so Jesus endured that. And so then the normative brutal punishment was he was going to be hung on a cross, and the convicted people carried their cross to where they were being hung. As part of the continued punishment, you get to carry your own cross,
which was quite heavy.
Which was, it wasn't the one you wear around your neck. It hundreds of pounds, and so they would literally put it on their shoulder and drag it to the place that they would be crucified. And so, on the way, Jesus evidently collapses and cannot carry his cross literally any longer, but he's still living and breathing, and he runs into a guy, actually the Roman.
They just pull
officials.
him in.
Yeah.
The Roman soldiers that are with Jesus as he's carrying his own cross kind of just pull Simon in and say, "You carry it. Your turn."
Yeah. I mean, Simon's just a bystander, it seems.
Yeah.
He's just a bystander.
Yep.
And, my gut is, as you and I were talking earlier, can you imagine? You'd be almost like, and I think Billups in the book that we're following mentions this, that
I didn't sign up for this.
I didn't sign up for this. This isn't.
Sign up for this.
I'm just here. What in the world? I'm just in the way. I'm just here doing my business, and this stuff happens, and now I'm pulled away. He's an innocent bystander, quite literally. We have some evidence so that his life has changed through that process, and we believe that he and his family became followers of Christ. And later they are mentioned in a couple of other texts as his children are mentioned. And so we really believe that he came full circle of when he carried the cross, that it had a greater meaning probably than anybody else in all of human history, his carrying the cross for the Christ.
And perhaps maybe given who he was, it wasn't as random as it appears.
Indeed.
Yeah.
You wonder.
Tom, you were sharing, and I was sharing with the guys earlier, your last case here in Alamance County. I had the privilege of being there for that day, and several of us from Front Street were there because we wanted to celebrate your career, your retirement, and all of that. And I will say that day the courtroom was full, and I think there were more staffers there than there were people there for the actual case celebrating Tom. But your case had a young woman who obviously had been through the system for quite a while. I don't know what quite a while could be. It could have been 2 years or 10 years, I don't know, but it wasn't overnight. And there wasn't a dry eye in that place. Hearing you in that young woman's situation, do you remember that case?
Oh, yes, very well.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I mean, she had been a lost soul. She had been badly addicted to drugs, and her drug addiction had led to a tragic incident in her own house. And this was, I don't remember how long after the crime, probably a year after it had happened. She had completely gotten clean and had gotten her children back.
She lost her children in all this.
She did. Oh, yes. Their children were removed from the home initially. And she was there for sentencing and had shown such remorse and such a turnaround in her life that instead of going to prison, she was allowed to stay free. And she was very impressive. And she has remained, to my knowledge, the last time I heard, still has remained remained drug-free.
Yeah.
And is living her best life again that she had lived previously before getting hooked on drugs.
Do you remember some of the things you told her?
I do remember one thing specifically because I did this almost with every drug addiction case, and there were a lot of them. I mean, people being addicted to drugs was a very large part of our docket.
It's horrendous.
And I always told people, and I always asked them, do you have children? And almost all of them do.
Yeah.
And I said, I want you to keep a picture of your children with you in your pocketbook, or if you're a man and don't carry a pocketbook, in your wallet. And if you start to feel that demonic pull of drugs trying to get you, you pull your family, your children's picture out, and you look long and hard at it, because if you then choose the drugs, you are literally choosing the drugs instead of your children. Because if you start down that spiral again of drug addiction, you're not going to have your family.
Yeah. And she had lived the fear of that.
She had.
A fear of that. She'd lived losing her children. The one thing, thinking about that young woman in that day, the accolades you gave her, the affirmations you gave her, and from the bench saying how proud the court is of her. And I think the only thing she had to do was, I think she had to pay court costs or something. And I will just a flash in the pan for Front Street. One of the folks who were there actually paid her court costs.
I was going to say that, and I don't know that she would want her name mentioned.
I'm not going to mention her name.
I was so moved to later learn that one of the Front Street prisoners who was there watching the case was so moved, she paid the entire court cost over the next year for that defendant. And when the defendant came back to be released from her judgment a year later, the woman who had paid her cost came to court and was there in the audience, and then went and talked to her afterwards, and and she described it to me as just an amazing moment to actually get a chance. I think they sat and talked for an hour.
I think Jesus' whole role there was redemption. And redemption, in Jesus' case, was redemption for the world. But also, I think our role as disciples, I think the role of the court system is really for redemption. It's to get people back in the right way of living with themselves and with one another. And I don't know how often that fully takes place, but it was great to see in your courtroom that day that happening, that young woman, there was no doubt in my mind at all that she understood the redeeming factor, that she had lived, where she'd come from and where she was as she stood before you in that court that day. And it was palatable, it was emotional, it was celebrative, it was all of that.